Hey guys, it's Jason from Wedding Film School. Today we're going to be talking about the Yolobox Pro, and we're going to be looking into why it might just be the perfect live streaming device for wedding filmmakers. So, as you can see guys, this isn't our normal studio setup. We're in the middle of building what's going to be a pretty incredible new studio for Wedding Film School. But in the meantime, we're here in the abyss filming this review. Before we get into the review, I just wanted to let you know this was sent to us by Yololife. No money changed hands. And the cool thing is, we actually use this device at a bunch of live weddings, which is always the case with Wedding Film School. Whenever we're reviewing a product for wedding filmmakers, we want to make sure that it's wedding filmmaking approved by taking it to weddings ourselves, making sure it can handle the strenuous conditions of a wedding day. And we were brought this to 3 different weddings and got to use it. And I can tell you, it is wedding filmmaker approved. It held up and it worked great. So as you guys know, live streaming at weddings is still kind of a thing. It's kind of a big thing. And one of the biggest issues we have in wedding filmmaking is that it's just kind of a pain. How do you even get a signal out of half of these ceremonies? Now, many of you guys remember the original Yolobox.
Streaming solution right here, the Yolobox.
So before we get into the features of the new Yolobox Pro, let's look at the original Yolobox. And because a lot of you guys are probably wondering, well, I already have the Yolobox, should I upgrade or should I save some money and get the original one? So let's look at it. The first thing you're gonna notice, obviously, is the Yolobox Pro is bigger. It is a 8-inch screen as opposed to the 7-inch screen on the original Yolobox. The other big thing you're gonna notice is that the Yolobox has 2 HDMI inputs, but the new Yolobox Pro has 3 HDMI inputs. I think for wedding filmmaking, by the way, 3 is ideal. I think one of the biggest improvements they made on the Yolobox Pro over the Yolobox is the inclusion of 2 inputs, one for line level and one for mic level. For those that are like, what's a mic level? What's a line level? Basically, a line level input is a hotter, louder signal than a mic level input. And why does this matter? Well, in wedding filmmaking, a lot of times you're working with the DJ, you're working with all kinds of signals, you don't have a lot of control over the environment. So the ability to either just plug a mic in or get a signal from the DJ, no matter what situation you're in, having the correct input gain level makes a big difference. And it's a really, really great feature for wedding filmmaking. Another thing that's going to be of interest to wedding filmmakers is the inclusion of a fan on the Yolobox Pro. And oftentimes we're filming outside in very hot environments. I myself have had live streaming devices overheat. We know this is a massive pain, and so the ability to shoot in more environments, I think it makes a big difference. And that's a win for the Yolobox Pro. Now, the biggest quality of life improvement by far the Yolobox Pro has over the original Yolobox is the inclusion of a new chip that is way, way, way faster. The Qualcomm 660 versus the 625 that's in this Yolobox, it's just a world of difference. Everything from the UI is snappier to the streaming quality is better. It's a much, much, much better experience. And I think improving the horsepower on this Android-based device over this really makes a big difference. And I think it's the thing that, to me, feels the most pro about the Yolobox Pro. The final difference I want to point out of the Yolobox Pro over the original Yolobox is that the Yolobox Pro is a 400 nits brightness screen, and the Yolobox original, the OG, is a 300 nits brightness screen. I think in wedding filmmaking, obviously, the brighter your screen, the better. You're oftentimes filming in full sun during these wedding ceremonies, and having a dark screen makes it really, really hard to tell what the heck you're doing. So now that we've compared the original Yolobox to the Yolobox Pro, we're gonna show you what it's like to use this thing at a real wedding, and we're gonna show you how this thing can actually make your life much easier. Guys, we're in Maine, and we're gonna be testing out the new Yolobox Pro, some of the cool features. I'm really excited to get to use this in a real wedding, so let's check it out. As we talked about before, the Yolobox has 4G as well as Wi-Fi and Ethernet. Luckily, we're at a church that has access to all 3. Well, we think. So we're going to check and see if the 4G signal works. Most likely, we're going to end up running our Ethernet cable anyway to be safe. But one of the best things about the Yolobox is you have a lot of different ways to handle internet connectivity. And we know with live streaming, that's one of the biggest concerns, and the Yolobox Pro kind of has you covered there. So it looks like I am now getting a little bit of signal from our 4G, but obviously our Wi-Fi is a lot stronger, so we're gonna be using that. And if we have any connectivity issues, we can run an Ethernet cable, which they've been nice enough to provide access to. So I think we're good to go with the connectivity of the Yolobox. So what I created a custom event in the Yolobox for this event. And then we also previously already connected it to their YouTube video, which we embedded on a custom website, which is something I couldn't really make work properly on the original Yolobox. But on the Yolobox Pro, we've been able to make it work seamlessly. So we're having a pre-scheduled YouTube event embedded on a custom website for this couple. And it's a really, really cool, I think, user experience for the couple, because they don't need to keep sending out different domains if the stream fails and whatnot. And also, we were able to set it up ahead of time with the Yolobox Pro, and we just show up and we're good to go. So one of the things I wish was a little different about the Yolobox and the Yolobox Pro is where the HDMI ports are mounted. As you can see, it puts a lot of pressure on the Yolobox, and you have to compensate for all these cables kind of just jamming in the top, which is not something I really love, especially if you want to use all three of the HDMI ports plus the audio. So that's one thing I wish was a little different, is all the ports being on the top. So we're going to be doing 3 cameras. We have 3 sources of audio, 2 lavs, which I always do 2 lavs in a live stream, running into our MixPre 3, as well as a line feed from the board. I'm going to prefer the line feed. I want to show you guys something on this. So when you're going live on this, you can see this is my up rate, which is green, which means it's good. This is my frame rate, and this is my percentage of dropped frames, which is a good indicator that my signal is really good. This is just using Wi-Fi, which is really convenient, so I'm really psyched. We tested the stream on our website with our tech people back at home, and it looks great. We're excited to get this live stream going with the Yolobox Pro to see what it's got. So one of the cool things about this is you have this menu, and you're monitoring all your audio sources and everything. So you can get a good idea of what the mix you're going to be hearing in your live stream, which is really nice. So one of the things I'm noticing that I've noticed before with the Yolobox, and I'm wondering what the problem is there, is I'm noticing a slight interference noise when you plug into the line in.
This beautiful woman that stands in front of me. Today is a testament to how far we have come with our journey, and I vow to continue holding her hand against mine.
But yeah, I wonder what that issue is. You always find a place to hide when you're set up early before a ceremony, and I'm hiding in this chair closet. As I sit here in this chair closet with this music blaring, and it does make me think about one of the best parts about the Yolobox Pro, which is it's so easy to set up that I am set up 40 minutes before the ceremony starts and trying to figure out what to do with my time, just looking at my phone. And that's pretty cool, because normally at a live stream, I'm sweating it out until the very last second, but this was super fast, super easy, and I was basically able to do most of the tech stuff before I even got here. So a very good live stream. I'm really impressed with the Yolobox Pro. The extra HDMI port makes a big difference. It seems to have extra battery life. The signal was incredible and everything worked great. A couple minor issues I noticed. When you hit record on your camera, and it could just be the Fujifilm X-T4, it might not be with other cameras, but I noticed there was a bit of a buzz sound when the camera itself was recording that would go through into the audio, which I don't know. Maybe that's just a camera-specific problem. Maybe it's just something that the Yolobox Pro does. I seem to remember the same issue, though, happening on the original Yolobox. Maybe that's something they can fix. I'm not sure. The other thing, this isn't really so much a problem with the Yolobox, but it's something that, for me, the ATEM Mini Pro's ability to record ISOs as well as your program feed is something I miss. I do love being able to record your program feed, but I would like it a lot better, and it would actually fix that problem of the camera needing to record as well, because I'm not just gonna do a live stream without my camera recording. And I really wish this had the ability to record ISOs of each individual input. That would be amazing. But other than that, I think this thing is awesome, and I really, it did the job. Now that we've seen the Yolobox Pro live and in action at a real wedding, I want to show you how easy it is to set up, because you can actually set this thing up in advance before you even go to the wedding, and it's very simple. So like I said before, you can set it up with your channel, or you can set it up to go to a custom location. They call that custom RMTP. We have our setup to go to a custom page that's right here. So let's start from the beginning. The first thing you do with the Yolobox is you just plug stuff in. It's that simple. If you have a signal coming, it should auto detect that signal, and it's easy. The switching is really easy. It's very intuitive. You just tap to switch. As you can see, you can load custom overlays, and we also were able to load a custom PDF. You can add new ones just by going right to this add video source screen. It's super easy to use, very intuitive. This is our platform screen. This is our audio screen. I personally will usually just plug in the device into one of the two audio inputs on the top and select it here. There's a lot of settings on here. Most of them are not things that are very hard to understand, but I did want to point out one thing, the encoding settings screen, which I think actually is very helpful to have, because it lets you kind of fine tune the bit rate, and in a lot of situations that is going to be important, especially things where you might not have the best signal. The ability to kind of customize that, I think, is really cool. Once you have everything set the way you want it, it's as easy as clicking on the platform that you want to go live with, and then just hitting the go live button. And just like that, we're live. So let's go through pros and cons for wedding filmmakers. The pros: this thing has a brighter screen than the original Yolobox, and it's bright enough, I think, to use in most situations. It has 3 HDMI inputs. It has line level and mic level inputs, which is important for wedding filmmakers because you never know what you're gonna get. It has a fan, so it doesn't overheat in the sun. The big benefit for wedding filmmakers, though, and this is the biggest pro, is that it's easy to use. Most importantly, it looks really good. The streams are good, and the recordings internally are good enough to deliver to your clients. Let's go through some of the cons, maybe some of the reasons that this might not be the right device for you. The first thing would be if you're a person that wants to record ISOs of each HDMI input. This will only allow you to record the program feed, which for most of you will be fine, but if you really want to record ISOs, then I would recommend you go with something like the ATEM Mini Pro ISO or the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. The other con is some of the weird interference that I heard with some audio devices. Again, I'm not blaming the Yolobox because I really don't know. I wasn't able to solve the problem. I just know it happened and it wasn't ideal. We all know weddings are a brutal environment. There's a lot going on. And I think honestly, some of these inputs over a long extended use may suffer some durability issues long-term in the crazy environment of a wedding film, especially for those of you that want to mount this thing on camera. And I also think about these inputs is it does leave a pretty messy impression on top of your camera, as you can see from our wedding film BTS footage. Before we get out of here, I wanted to say one more thing that's not necessarily a con of the device, but I did want to just make you aware of it. I found some of the 4G connectivity issue in the manual and overall to be a little bit suspect. I had to go through 3 different SIM cards to find the right one. And I'll say this, Yolobox was very helpful at finding the right thing, and they're very responsive. So if you have questions, they will get back to you. But in general, just so you know, if you're getting this, you need to get a card that has data and phone. And it wasn't the easiest for me to figure out exactly the right SIM card to get for my device. Luckily, they're pretty cheap nowadays, but I just wanted to kind of point out to you, don't just get a SIM card and plug it in and go to a wedding and expect it to work. Make sure whatever data you get, especially if it's 4G, you've tested it and you've really ensured that it functions. In general, by the way, I don't really recommend totally relying on the 4G because you just never know. So I always prefer Wi-Fi or Ethernet anyway. So, the Yolobox Pro, it's a huge improvement of the original Yolobox. I highly recommend it. If you're looking for the easiest and I think best solution for a lot of wedding filmmakers to live stream weddings, I don't think you can go wrong with the Yolobox. It's got all the inputs you need. It's got even the audio options you need. Go check out the Yolobox Pro. Go grab one today. I think this thing is amazing for wedding filmmakers. If you're looking to get into live streaming as a wedding filmmaker, I just can't think of an easier way to do it. Click on the link below, get yourself a Yolobox. It helps the channel out, and of course, you'll get a really, really great piece of equipment. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Go ahead, click a like, click a subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. We got a bunch of other gear videos. We do weekly film critiques, and we have an awesome podcast. So check out the Wedding Film School Show on any podcast platforms or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have an awesome day, guys.